Okay, I'm going to totally ad-lib this video about godhood. So in a previous video I mentioned what if God was one of us. I actually managed to miss out quite a fair little bit there. I found something very interesting about the Sikh belief system. They believe that all that is known is the self, all that is unknown is the universe. And, you know, we and the universe are part of two sides to one coin. It's quite interesting, you know. I was thinking about the creator and the observer, how we observe the creation, but without the observer, creation would mean nothing, right? I mean, think how many nebula, stars, trillions, billions have come into life, existed and gone. And all of that could happen, and did happen, and nobody saw it. Did it happen? If a tree falls in the woods and no one's around to hear it, did it happen? Did anything occur? So there's a funny kind of relationship between the creator and the observer, right? And there's something about the self and the conditions that we experience in life. When I have some tough times, I say, look, it's not my fault. I didn't make this happen. And in a way, I sort of feel like I'm lying. And I swear that I'm lying whenever I say I didn't make it like this. I don't want it like this. I didn't make it like this. It's not my choice. On some level, I think that on some level, man, I contracted to everything I've ever experienced and will experience. I'm sure on some level that I've contracted to it all. Because so many things in my life have been like remembering. Many of the most crucial things, whenever I think of anything to do with spiritual stuff, anything to do with anything meaningful about my identity, I remember. I remember from something from before I was born. And that's really peculiar, man. I've got loads of memories from before I was born, man. Weird, man. Really weird. Not all of them nice. So the concept is that we create the conditions of our own universe, right? And that kind of implies that we are, in a sense, a divine creator of our situation, at the very least. We contrive our situation to escape it, to learn the tools to escape it and to grow. You know, I believe that souls incarnate on Earth because Earth is like a crucible, a fiery place of hellish conditions that teach us how to be, and through the conditions of hardship and suffering, which we all experience and is innate to every life form's experience, and the one thing that joins us as all life, that we suffer. Thus, experience on life in this crucible is like a catalyst for our change. A lifetime in this will provide more change than you can have in a million years floating about space as a kind of ethereal spirit or whatever goes on, okay? We get so much change from living here and being in it, you know? And that's simply what it is. And it's difficult because we can't exist without harming others, without eating food, it was the case that we'd have to kill all of our food. So in surviving, we're dragging our souls into the animal, and we cannot escape into a more divine state, you know. And that's what sin is, I believe. You know, actions which prevent us from achieving a more divine state, you know, and thus much of survival, ironically, in order to, you know, incarnate on this place and, you know, in order to grow spiritually, we need to incarnate in this place and live in such a way that actually denigrates us, you know, and defiles us. You know, eating meat, you know, the sexual activity that we do, the lust, the sort of, you know, there's a necessary thing to that, and there's a loving thing to that, but there's also a grubby side to it, and there's also a not pleasant side to all human behaviour. There's a justified side, and there's a overbalanced side. Overweighted towards self-agreed, self-aggrandization, self-fulfillment, self-soothing. Godhood and the self. Well, I didn't ever consider godhood before I had worked on the ego, man. I spent at least 5 years doing everything possible to denigrate my ego. So I recommend, if you're going to go down a spiritual path whereby you believe yourself a divine creature, lest we say God, there's a lot of pitfalls that can happen with the ego, right? Ultimately, you're going to have to, for anyone with any ego, too much or too little, my advice is always, destroy it as much as you can and remake it in your idea of what's better and healthy, because we're always given really bad advice by those around us, or we just pick up advice. We look at others and we think that's the way to be, but actually it's not the way to be. It just looks the way to be. So ego is such a dangerous thing, and in a way we have to be at war with it. We have to have the self-discipline that there's an egoic voice that's always with us for the rest of our lives. It's always going to want to take over your mind and tell you that you're better than everyone else. Nobody's right, only you're right. Even when you're wrong, they're wrong, and so on and so forth. It's a pretty dodgy voice, and it's a life's work to actually combat that, lest become divine, or find your divinity, or consider yourself God, or part of the godhood, cosmic consciousness, or what have you. That's one thing, but if every human could let go of the ego, I think we'd be basically godly anyway. Ego is a real big trap. It's probably the key of all traps. Ego is the one thing. If reality is an illusion, ego is the reason for that. Ego is the reason why reality can't expose its vulnerable side to you. We can't allow our vulnerable core, our vulnerable soul, to expose itself to us. This small soul that we are, as a part of that larger thing, is too vulnerable. It's hiding. That's why I say love the universe like a child, because it doesn't know any different. We have to forgive it for all that it does to us, because it just doesn't know any different. Yeah. Godhood, I suppose it started with me with astral travel, and that's a wonderful thing which everyone is encouraged to get involved with. And the beautiful thing about astral travel is that Elon Musk and all of those people, they spend billions and trillions to get out in space, and we're going to spend billions and trillions in order to get to the furthest reaches of the universe so that we can survive, so that we can get more resources and wage war, galactic wars over resources, because we physically need the physical stuff in order to learn the lessons. Consider CERN. How much it costs to make CERN? I don't even know. It's like $3 trillion or something dollars or something. I don't know. It's just an unfathomable amount, truly. And they learned a certain amount, and reality opened itself out a certain amount, and it showed us a certain amount of answers, and then it provided loads more questions, and we realised we'd have to spend 10 times the amount to make another really big machine, an even bigger machine, to get some answers. And I kind of can't help but think, well, at what point are we going to run out of money and resources, because the machines keep on having to be bigger and bigger? It have to be a planet Earth-sized Large Hadron Collider, right, in order to get the next biggest answer. Too much money, too much resources, and by the way, everything that you need to know can be accessed through your mind by closing your eyes. So we'll do it. We'll take our time. We'll close our eyes and we'll breathe. We'll get into a comfortable position and we'll relax our entire body. We relax all of our muscles, and well, here's how I would do it. This is a meditation where we will We'll actually expand our soul to the breadth of the universe. And inside that will be blue, be our soul. We're going to nurture and imbue all life with more life and more joy and more happiness and ease and softness. And all we do is every single time we breathe out, we kind of push down silently. The way we breathe as well is a unique way, by pushing it all out and then just relaxing the diaphragm. We're not physically breathing in, we're just breathing everything out. It's like a pump. And we're pumping our soul. We're pumping it up. First it's in our core, which is 2 inches below our navel and 4 inches to the rear inside your body, the lower dantian, the lower chakra. You feel physical excitement there. It's a place where you feel kind of excited from. That place. You expand the soul from there through breathing. And to the limits of the body. And then beyond. And with each breath, you're going to go further and further out the body until you contain the room, until you contain your house, until you contain so on and so forth, right? And within each of those stages, you're going to contain whatever life is there, and you're going to give it love. And you're going to go further and further out of your town, out of the city, out into the country. All of those animals, the urban foxes, the badgers, you name it. Horses, crows, people, criminals, everyone, everything. Not just those that you like. All things, right? All things. Police and thieves. All things, okay? And we expand to the next country. We give energy to the French, to the Belgians, to the Irish, to all people. Scandinavia, Africa. We go continental, baby. Okay? Asia, China, India. And then in the planet, we go interplanetary. Boom. Whoosh. We're pushing out, all the way out. Other planets. We're going global, interplanetary, right? We fill everything with blue. All things are imbued with blue. It is our soul. We give it love and energy. There's little twinklings of little light here and there inside all the little life forms you see. You get into work, imbuing with goodness, and you keep on expanding and take your time and keep on breathing, keep on pumping, pushing that soul out. Right? Until we get to the limit of it. And then when we get there, we sit there. We've taken our time and we're sitting there. And we are with all things. We are with the Great Spirit, the Great Consciousness, the mind of all. Just sit there. Just sit there for as long as you want, baby. Because that's home. That's you. You think you're connecting to God, sitting beside God, sitting among God. No, in time, you realise that you are that. It's a part of us, okay? The widest God, I believe there's different layers and levels, The self, which contrives our conditions in our lives, okay? Good or bad. Particularly the bad, that we have to escape from. And when we escape, we're like, wow, we're so powerful. We're so amazing. We can do anything, So, we contrive that. I believe that there's an ultimate creator, which is also an aspect of the self, aspect of the soul, and that widest self also kind of is all of us. That's where we all combine, That's how it all gets administrated. All of our individual manifestations, we're all each small gods which contrive our realities and the hardships that we go through. For example, addiction. If we were born into addiction, we had addicted parents or families, and we had to go through addiction ourselves in order to get through to the other side of freedom, you know. It's a difficult situation, and when you're out of it, you'll be such an incredible person, because no one will have been through that but you. No one will understand that but you, and that's why these people end up as public speakers, beacons of hope, shining light for others who are going through tough times. They would never have been that if it were not for the hardship that they contrived for themselves to experience, knowing that they would find the tools on their own, find the guidance of their own, recognise that the teachers that they were given were harmful, you know. Sometimes the help that you're, handed by default isn't actually help, it's harm that hides itself as help, you know. So I would never recognise myself as the ultimate God, okay? That would be a sense of mental illness. We need to be very cautious about mental health when we're talking about godhood, you know. A lot of people struggle with mental health and experiencing things from the other side. And I know a lot of people, I have a lot of friends with schizophrenia and other issues, serious issues. It's very familiar to me. If you have these issues, I really understand, my friend, okay? It's okay. Stay cool, okay? Be cool. I'm on your side, and it's all cool. Just don't look for significance in all things. Allow significance to come to you, but don't go looking for it, because it can spin us out of control, you know. For those of us who have, let's say they don't need weed and they don't need mushrooms to experience the rawness of nature and the incredible mystery of the consciousness of reality, to which perhaps all consciousness derives from. There's certainly that philosophy that all consciousness comes from divine cosmic consciousness. Certainly for those of us, and I don't recommend anyone who's ever had schizophrenia or mental illness, even if they have any suspicion that they have, or anxiety too, to not take mushrooms or any hallucinogenic substance, because quite possibly you don't need it. Quite possibly we're trying to get through to your side a bit better, you know, thus who are so blind. However, thus who are so blind, who can take mushrooms, who don't have, you know, medical schizophrenia or anxiety, you know, the mushroom experience, it actually guides us towards the realization that consciousness is actually the default state of not just being, but physical reality, you know. The naysayers would say thought requires a certain amount of physical hardware. I suppose it does, right? But then what if... I mean, one thing that made me realise perhaps there is the likelihood of cosmic consciousness. And when you take mushrooms, you connect to it, okay? You connect to it. When you liberate, when you surrender to it all, you will connect to that cosmic consciousness. And it's undeniable. However, that aside, I thought to myself once, the power that it takes for a human brain to think is like ridiculously small. I mean, you know, we're talking like potatoes powering a light bulb amount of electricity, like 4 watts or something it takes to power a brain or something, right? And I kind of thought about the intense energies transmitted by stars, and how the influence of stars can spread very widely indeed. And I wondered if stars could be themselves like synapses, and that, you know, universes, galaxies could combine the electrical communication or electrical exchange of all of these suns in this, crazy systems, I don't think it's too wild to suggest that, consciousness, nobody knows what the heck it is, and it's just kind of electrical, or is it? Can't be weighed, can't be observed per se, it can't be kind of measured, it's just peculiar. There's, in my eyes, nothing to suggest that such consciousness could not form as a result of a neural network, a galactic neural network. I just kind of feel connected to a universal mind when I have eaten magic mushrooms, and nothing else will provide such a intense and rewarding connection with the universe. Few things anyway, and it's emotional states that it provides, and perspectives more than anything. People think that mushrooms are about seeing things, but it's about thinking things, in fact. The hallucinogenic experience isn't as much about, seeing crazy things as coming up with perspectives that you've never come up with before. Thought experiments, play with your thoughts and thinkings, beliefs, like they're nothing more than playthings, Gods, they don't mind. Your God, he won't mind, it won't mind. About playing with philosophies, It's just fun and games, Fun and games that all help to illustrate and illuminate ourselves and the wider universe. Yeah. And there was a final point buried in there somewhere. If we could just get through to her. Yeah, there's something about CERN and constant inquiry. I've got 110 seconds, so we'll see if I can squeeze this out. But for everything that we learn, we have to spend more. We have to make a bigger thing. And we've learned some stuff, but the universe, it opens more doors than closes them. And I can't help but feel, what if there's something weird about the universe in that penetrating through to the truth and it providing the truth, but always requiring us to go a little bit deeper, ask more questions. I don't know. Are we having sex with it? Is this constant situation of CERN and the truth, the ultimate truth of the universe? Does that make sense? Am I run out of time? So, is the case of, every time we ask the universe the ultimate question, is that requiring us to penetrate deeper and deeper, because this penetration of interrogation to find the truth is, it's ecstatic for us, actually. We do feel an ecstasy when we learn something new, don't we? It's an incredible feeling. Knowledge is climactic. It's orgasmic. I find great ecstasy in when I've learned something about myself, the world, something that I never knew before, And perhaps the universe too feels a similar ecstasy in giving up the answers or playing coy with the answers, So there's peculiar kind of relationships we have with the universe, with ourself and the universe. None of these can be denied. All of these are fascinating, intriguing, truly. It's a thought experiment. It's a bit funny. There's something occurred to me. So, are we in a sort of intercourse-like relationship with the universe, whereby the need to know and the universe is giving it up is a kind of form of intercourse. It's weird. I don't know. Food for thought. Anyhow, we've expanded ourselves to the breadth of the universe. We've filled all things with love. Yes, so finally we will breathe and breathe back all of that soul back into our bodies and back into our core. Each breath. We're just going to pump that soul back into the body and back into our core, where it will find a comfortable size, manageable. This, by the way, is a meditation that I got from the book Barefoot Doctor's Handbook for the Urban Warrior, by the Barefoot Doctor Stephen something, I can't remember his name. But that's a brilliant book, and I beseech you to buy it, because it changed my life. It showed me Taoism and Taoist meditation, some interesting meditations. It shows you how to make meditations for yourself, really, you know. It's a great book. And all things are great if we give it the capacity to be great. And